Welcome to this licensing hearing. The first item on the agenda is the appointment of a chair, and I understand that members would like to appoint Councillor Galvin to chair the hearing. Is that agreed?
It is.
Thank you, members.
You're muted, Councillor Galvin.
Too many buttons to press. Good morning, everybody, and welcome to the meeting. Before we get into the sort of formal introductions, I just want to make everybody aware that, as well as being a live webcast, a recording of this hearing will be made available to view on the council's website. And I will come on to some preliminary matters, but first we'll run through items 2 to 5 of the agenda, starting off with the introductions. My name is John Galvin. I'm chairing this hearing this morning, and I'm supported by two of my colleagues, Councillor
Janet Looker
and Councillor Janet Looker. I also have officers with me, Leslie Cook, the licensing officer.
Good morning, Chair.
Fiona Young, who's the committee clerk, and our solicitor, Sandra Brannigan. The applicant is to introduce themselves, please. Councillor Jackie Booth, if you'd like to introduce your team.
Good morning, Chair and everyone. My name is Sergeant Jackie Booth. I'm the Force Licensing Manager for North Yorkshire Police. I've also got a member of North Yorkshire Police legal team, Kaylee Scaife, who will be addressing the committee. And I have two witnesses, PC Sam Bolland and PC Kim Hollis.
Thank you very much. And the licence holder, would you like to do your...
Good morning, Chair. My name is Duncan Craig. I'm here to represent the licence holder, Mr. Coy, who is also here. Mr. Coy, his English. I went to the premises on Monday, and his English is okay. He understands English. He doesn't speak it quite as well as he understands it, I would say, but I've not got any concerns around him being able to respond to straightforward questioning. He does have somebody there to assist him with English should it be required. So, Mr. Coy, you just want to say hello to everybody? Mr. Coy?
Hello. Hello, yeah. Hello, everyone.
Okay, and also my instructing solicitor, Mr. Walker, is also here.
Thank you. Next item, members, can we have, if there are any declarations of interest?
None from me, Chair.
None. Thank you very much. We need at this point to consider excluding the press and the public during our deliberations and decision making at the end of the hearing for the reasons set out in agenda item 4 of the agenda. Do I have my colleagues' agreement that we do follow that pattern at the end of the... Thank you very much.
Agreed, Chair.
Minutes of the last meeting held on the 17th of October and the 27th of October. Happy to move them?
Yes.
Thank you. Those are moved. I now come on to 3 or 4 preliminary matters. Am I right in believing that both the applicant and the licence holder understand the procedure to be followed as published in the agenda supplement?
Yes, thank you, Chair.
Mr. Craig?
Yes, sorry, Chair, I keep flitting between muting and unmuting.
Join the club.
But yes, I do understand the procedure. Thank you, Chair.
Given that this could be a fairly long meeting, do you feel that both parties, that's the applicant, the police, and Mr. Craig, you have enough to have 15 minutes with your representations? Sergeant Booth?
Chair, on behalf of the police, yes, I could confirm 15 minutes.
I'm sorry, yeah.
No problem at all. Yes, 15 minutes will be suitable for the applicant. Thank you.
Mr. Craig?
Yeah, I'm paid to talk for a living, and that sometimes includes speaking more quickly. I think 15 minutes will suffice.
Yeah, I mean, can I just say to you, I'm not going to suddenly bring the guillotine down dead on 15 minutes.
Like they do in Leeds, you mean?
I couldn't possibly comment, sir. And am I right in believing that you have seen the additional information from the police, which has been published as an agenda supplement?
I have indeed, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you. The applicant, the license holder has produced some photographs which were circulated yesterday. Have the police any objections to these being discussed or taken during the meeting?
No, Chair.
Thank you very much. And I think that is it as far as the preliminary matters are concerned. Could I then ask Leslie Cook, who's presenting the report and the license manager's report. Leslie, it's over to you.
Thank you, Chair.
Sorry, can I
yes, so before you today,
can I just stop you? I do apologise. Have both the applicant and the license holder seen or have a copy of the format of the meeting? Mr.
We certainly have a copy of the procedure, which I think is supplement 1.
Mr. Craig?
Ditto.
Yeah, thank you. Leslie?
thank you, Chair. So before you today is an application for the review of a premise licence for Sky Blue 16 Barbican Road, York. The applicant for the review is Police Sergeant Jackie Booth, Force Licensing Manager for North Yorkshire Police. The application for the review relates to all 4 licensing objectives: the prevention of crime and disorder, public safety, prevention of public nuisance and protection of children from harm. A copy of the application can be found at Annex 1 of the report, pages 39 to 50, with supporting documentation at pages 51 to 228. Details of the application in summary relate to the history of the premises, incidents at the premises on the 22nd of January, where a report in relation to the allegation of spiking of a 16-year-old female, reports in relation to an allegation of underage sales to the 16-year-old female, breach of mandatory licence conditions, breach of conditions 1, 2, 3, 8, 12, 13, 17, 18, 23, 24 and 29 of Annex 2 of the premise licence and management of the premises. A copy of the premises licence, including the layout plan of the premises, can be found at Annex 2 on pages 229 to 241. The premise licence authorises live music, recorded music, performance of dance and supply of alcohol on and off the premises Monday to Sunday 10 AM until 3:30 AM. Late night refreshment Monday to Sunday from 11 PM until 3 AM, with the premises closing at 4 AM each day. I can confirm that the consultation process was carried out correctly and that no further representations have been made in relation to this application. A map showing the location of the premises is attached to Annex 3 on page 243 of the report. The committee has the following options when making your decision. Option 1, modify the conditions of the licence. Option 2, exclude a licensable activity from the scope of the licence. Option 3, remove the designated premises supervisor. Option 4, suspend the licence for a period not exceeding 3 months. Option 5, revoke the licence. Members may also determine that the review does not require to take any further steps appropriate to promoting the licensing objectives. There is also nothing to prevent members issuing an informal warning to the licence holder. That is a brief overview of the report, Chair.
Thank you very much. The questions for Leslie, Kaylee Scaife. Can I refer to you as Kaylee or Miss or Mrs?
Whichever you prefer, Chair.
Thank you. Thank you. It's your turn, Kaylee. You have 5 minutes to question Leslie, the licensing officer.
I don't think, I believe I have any questions for the licensing officer. I think she's covered it adequately, and I'm grateful that I think the council have had opportunity to read the quite detailed police documentation that's been filed and served. So no questions at this stage, Chair.
Thank you very much. Mr. Craig, would you like to ask the licensing officer any question?
No, Chair, thank you. I think it's been more than adequately covered.
Thank you very much.
As ever, everything at York is extremely thorough.
Thank you very much for that comment. Have my colleagues got any questions? No?
Not from me, Chair.
And not for you, Janet. Thank you very much. We now come to the applicant's case. Kaylee, you and your witnesses, and again, you've got technically 15 minutes, but I'm not going to sling the guillotine down at sort of dead on 15 minutes, because apart from anything else, I have to keep my eye on my phone as well. What's a timer? So it's over to you.
I'm grateful, Chair. Thank you. So as has been outlined by the licensing officer, this review brought by North Yorkshire Police relates to all 4 licensing objectives. This is following significant police intervention and resource, with the premises demonstrating on each possible occasion that they have been unable to comply with their obligations and operate responsibly. By way of brief history, committee members may recall that this premises previously operated as the Regency, having had its licence revoked following a hearing on the 8th of June 2020. This was following a review brought by the City of York Council on grounds of crime, disorder and public safety. Evidence at that review referred to immigration offences, but also multiple breaches of the premises licence. And it's of note that the premises was issued by North Yorkshire Police 2 Section 19 notices. Both were accepted by the premises by Mr. Man Lung, also we understand known as Kevin. One of these Section 19 notices was in December 2020, after the licence had in fact been revoked, but was pending appeal. And we note in the decision notice of the committee members who determined that appeal, which is at page 83 of the pack, they noted the history of repeated failings at this premises and said they had no faith in the premises licence holder being able to sustainably uphold the licensing objectives in the future. And that appeal was dismissed by the Magistrates Court on the 10th of December 2020. Looking forward, there was an application on the 10th of March 2021 for a new premises licence received from Mr. Coy. This was supposed to be a fresh start. Police raised concerns which were addressed, information was provided, assurances were made, and the police agreed suitably stringent conditions. The application form, signed by the applicant, I believe his legal representative, promised a wholly new management team in place to deal with and address the previous issues that had occurred. There was a hearing for the application on the 29th of April 2021. During this hearing, the applicant was aware of the scrutiny that the premises would be under, and his legal advisor stated at 26 minutes in that hearing, it's right to remind you any breach of a condition on a licence is not just something that can be viewed dimly by the licensing authority in terms of a review, but is potentially a criminal offence. He went on to say that the applicant, Mr. Coy, he is under no illusions it is incumbent for him to comply. And in his closing, he addressed the committee stating conditions are enforceable and it will fall to Mr. Coy to make sure that these conditions are complied with. And it was also noted as stating it was absolutely quite right to exclude previous management from the premises. And given our current understanding that Mr. Man Lung, known as Kevin, remains involved in the premises and is in fact now described as the manager delivering the training to staff members, this does seem rather misleading. One further comment I'll make from that hearing, which the committee I think appears were misled, was a comment from Mr. Coy at 35 minutes. When he was asked which premises he'd been involved in, he referred to Mr. Happy in another premise. And in relation to Mr. Happy, he was asked, there have been no issues, have there? And Mr. Coy replied, no issues. It's in fact became known more recently that in 2018, in fact, he'd been prosecuted by the fire service for three breaches of fire regulations, which included breaching a prohibition notice. He was convicted, fined £5,000 and costs of around £2,000. Not knowing this, that certainly wasn't covered at the hearing, the licence was granted And it's right to say there were no police visits or incidents reported from then until the 22nd of January 2022. Now, that incident was a report from the evening before, a report of a spiking of a 16-year-old girl at the premises. She'd attended with friends for karaoke and drinks, not food. She described being served at the bar 3 times, there being no waiter service, as would have been required in the licence. She describes odd behaviour and attention from a person she identifies as a bouncer. Before she left, she downed her last drink and became very unwell in the car ride home. A home test the following morning tested positive for benzodiazepines. The officer in that case experienced significant difficulties in obtaining the CCTV from the premises. Several contacts over a 2-week period, almost 3 weeks, included conversations with the person known as Kevin, and also mixed messages were received from the premises as to the availability of that CCTV. But enough was enough, and on the 16th of February 2022, the hard drive in its entirety was seized. Following this, there were follow-up meetings with the North Yorkshire Police licensing officers who were present today, and I will ask them to provide the detail of those follow-up meetings from the February till now. But just to clarify that in terms of the CCTV that was requested in relation to that incident, there was no footage available. Once the CCTV had been examined, it had been determined it had, in fact, any footage had been recorded over, and in fact, some cameras were not working. So falling quite short of what had been needed to support that criminal investigation. Now, if I may, I might ask Sergeant Booth to address the committee on the visits and the steps taken by the licensing team from February this year until present, if that's okay.
Good morning, Chair and members. North Yorkshire Police, in particular the police licensing team, have had significant engagement with Sky Blue at 16 Barbican Road. On each occasion that engagement has taken place, whether that be by way of visits or communication direct with the premises licence holder and also DPS Mr. Coy, concerns have been identified of breaches of the premises licence and the licensing objectives have been undermined. This engagement has resulted in a criminal investigation by the police licensing team for Section 136 offences of unauthorised licensable activities, and Mr. Coy being the subject of a criminal investigation. I appreciate that there is a lot of papers in the bundle, so the below points, salient points, may help members to ascertain the key aspects of the engagement that North Yorkshire Police would then ask you to consider if the premises can be trusted going forward to operate within the remits of the law and if it's fit to hold a premises licence. As my colleagues already pointed out, on the 22nd of January 2022, a report to North Yorkshire Police was received involving a spiking incident. The victim in this incident was 16 years of age and provided a statement to police detailing her purchase and consuming alcohol at Sky Blue, and I would refer members to page 117 of the bundle, which is her statement. On the 15th of February 2022, following concerns highlighted by the investigating officer that she was unable to progress the criminal investigation due to CCTV not being provided by the premises, despite it being a condition on the premises licence, PC Hollis contacted Mr. Coy, the DPS, by telephone to discuss the matter. The Section 182 guidance does state that the DPS should be the person that police officers or any responsible party, any responsible authorities should go to as the point of contact. Mr. Coy provided reassurances that the CCTV would be available for officers. On the 16th of February 2022, the investigating officer attends Sky Blue, and unfortunately the CCTV was not provided of the incident, and at that time she was instructed by myself to seize the whole CCTV footage system as part of the criminal investigation. On the 18th of February 2022, PC Hollis and PC Bolland attend Sky Blue on an unscheduled visit to conduct a Section 179 licensing inspection following the update from the investigating officer and concerns that the premises were not operating in accordance with the premise license conditions. The premises were open to the public and present was Mr. Lung, known as Kevin. Mr. Lung was part of the management involved previously under the Regency. He claimed he was cleaning and just helping out. PC Hollis identified a number of breaches and as a result issued a Section 19 closure notice, and I would refer members to page 135 and 137 of the bundle. On the 25th of February 2022, both officers re-attended the premises to check compliance with the Section 19 notice issued on the 18th. Present again at this time was Mr. Lung. It was established that the CCTV condition at that time was being complied with. Photographs were taken of staff training records. However, additional inquiries were required as part of the criminal investigation regarding staff and HR records, and so the Section 19 notice could not be satisfied at this time. On the 15th of June 2022, I made contact by telephone to Mr. Coy to highlight the concerns in respect of the criminal investigation. I had received formal notification from the investigating officer that there was no CCTV footage and that no staff records or no details of anyone had been provided for the night in question of the alleged incident. I followed this up in a written email to Mr. Coy, and I would refer members to page 139 in the bundle. On the 16th of June, I made a further call to Mr. Coy to arrange a meeting to take place at the premises, affording him the opportunity in advance to address the email from the previous day and the concerns highlighted. On the 21st of June 2022, myself and PC Hollis attended Sky Blue for a scheduled meeting with Mr. Coy. Also present was Mr. Long and Mr. Coy's legal advisor, Mr. Walker. A Section 179 inspection was conducted, and again, 6 breaches of the premises licence were found, resulting in a further Section 19 closure notice being issued. Members are referred to page 147 of the bundle. At the time of this check, it was apparent that Mr. Coy was unaware where the premises licence summary was, the incident book, and appeared disconnected from the day-to-day operating of the premises and referred all our questions to Mr. Lung to answer. I would refer members to the statement of PC Hollis at page 151. On the 30th of June 2022, North Yorkshire Police submitted a review application to the Licensing Authority, copies of which were sent to Mr. Coy, highlighting the concerns of why the police were seeking a revocation of the premises licence. The 5th of July 2022, myself and PC Bolland attend Sky Blue, again for a pre-arranged appointment to follow up the Section 19 notice issued on the 21st of June. Present again was Mr. Coy, Mr. Lung and Mr. Walker, legal representative. An examination of the CCTV system for footage from 3 days previously on the 2nd of July 2022 identified further breaches of the premise licence conditions. And I refer members to my statement, page 188 to 189 of the bundle. Based on the fact that 2 Section 19 notices had been issued and not complied with, and further breaches continued to take place, Mr. Coy was informed he would be interviewed at the police station for Section 136 offences. On the 20th of July, myself and another officer, PC Furlong, interviewed under caution Mr. Coy at Fulford Police Station for Section 136 offences. He fully admitted the breaches of the premise licence conditions from both Section 19 notices issued on the 18th of February and the 21st of June. On the 28th of July, myself and PC Bolland attended Sky Blue for an unscheduled check of the CCTV system, as I was informed a new system had been installed. Present was Mr. Lung. CCTV was checked and it was in compliance, and no further checks were conducted at this time. On the 4th of August, I issued a simple police caution to Mr. Coy at Fulford Police Station. This is in line with the Director of Public Prosecution Guidelines following his interview for Section 136 unauthorised licensable activity offences. He was advised at this time that a further visit would be made to Sky Blue on the 8th of August to check the outstanding Section 19 notice issued on the 21st of June. On the 8th of August, myself and PC Bolland attended Sky Blue for that pre-arranged appointment. Present again was Mr. Coy, Mr. Lung and the legal representative, Mr. Walker. CCTV was examined from the 6th of August 2 days earlier, which identified further breaches of the premise licence conditions and further offences of 136 offences committed by Mr. Coy. This was only 2 days after he had been issued a police caution. The Section 19 notice had still not been complied with. On the 9th of August 2022, I emailed Mr. Coy highlighting the further breaches I'd identified from the day before. Members are referred to page 179 of the bundle. The 17th of August, PC Hollis and PC Bolland attend Sky Blue for a pre-arranged appointment to check compliance with the outstanding Section 19 notice. Present was Mr. Coy, Mr. Long and Mr. Walker. Checks were conducted regarding the Section 19 notice and further inquiries were required prior to the notice being satisfied. On the 8th of November, myself and PC Bolland attend Sky Blue for an unscheduled visit to check the outstanding Section 19 notice. Present was Mr. Long. At this time, he stated he would contact Mr. Coy as he wasn't expecting him to attend the premises. A check of the CCTV system showed it was displaying the incorrect time, but this was rectified immediately by Mr. Long. Full HR records were shown to me and Mr. Coy, who had attended, was advised that the Section 19 notice originally issued in June had finally been complied with some 5 months later and he would be emailed a cancellation notice. And I refer members to the additional bundle, pages 7 and 9. Based on the above, the police do not trust that this operator will abide by the licence and the law when no one is looking over their shoulder. This has been demonstrated despite the previous reassurances that they will adhere to any conditions of part of an authorisation. Police licensing have no confidence in Mr. Coy as the premise licence holder or designated premises supervisor to operate the premises in a responsible manner to uphold and promote the licensing objectives, which is why we respectfully request that your sanction in respect of this matter is revocation. Members, there is myself and the other 2 officers present should you wish to direct any questions from what has been put forward today or what you may have arising from the bundle before you. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Mr. Craig, have you any questions that you'd like to ask, in essence, the applicant, the police?
Yes, please, Chair. Just a few. Just could I ask you, I don't know whether it would be Kaylee or Jackie or both. Just one thing, actually, Kaylee, you mentioned that the premises was catastrophically breaching its conditions on the licence on each possible occasion. Are you including the visit of the 8th of November in that?
Would you like me to answer that, Mr. Craig? It was myself that attended on the 8th. What I opened up by saying is that on each occasion that we have attended, there has been a breach. On the 8th of November, on initial attendance, the CCTV timing was out. Whilst it was rectified immediately, and I accept that, it was still out and incorrect at that time.
Well, that isn't answering the question. The question was, and it was in fact Kaylee who said it, that on each occasion there was a visit, that there were significant breaches of the licence. The question is, does that include the visit on the 8th of November? That's the question. Is yes or no? It's quite straightforward.
Yeah, so what I said is on each and every possible occasion they didn't demonstrate that they'd been unable to comply. There was a lack of compliance when Sergeant Booth attended, which we do concede was rectified when the officers left. What Sergeant Booth's statement also says is that she does see there are, from a licensing perspective, some outstanding issues with the premise, although we do concede the Section 19 notice has finally been cancelled.
Thank you. Could I ask you just to turn to page 117, please? So this is the statement. Understandably, it's redacted. Don't seek to go behind any of the reductions, but in case anyone's got alarm bells going off about that. Just want to ask a few questions. How was this statement taken?
This statement was taken by the investigating officer.
That's not answering the question. How was it taken? Was it taken over the phone? Was it taken in person?
It was taken, we have electronic devices called ThinkPads.
Yes.
And the officer is able to take those to the home address. There had to be an appropriate adult present with the person giving their statement because they are a juvenile.
Right. So it was taken in person.
Yes.
You're certain of that, yeah?
Yes.
Thank you. Do we know what her date of birth is?
The date of birth's been redacted because it's a restricted.
Where I can't. I'm not. It might be me being thick, by the way, but I can't see where it would be apparent to me that the date of birth has been redacted.
It would be on the rear of the statement, which contains the personal details.
Right.
So that would include her home address, telephone number. It's always on the rear of the police statement form.
Thank you. So who was the officer that took the statement? What was the name?
PC Schuster. It's in the pack, 1665.
Thank you. That's very well remembered. Thank you. And there was a photograph taken of this female. I'm not asking to see it, but was one taken about in relation to her appearance? Do you know?
I'm unaware if a photograph was taken, but that wouldn't be something that it was the day after that the incident was reported.
It was. And lastly, she makes reference in a statement to willingly happy to be providing a urine sample to the police. Was one taken? Hello, you're on silent. I can't hear you. Jackie,
Sorry, my apologies. I was hitting the mute button too quickly. Apologies.
Done it before, don't worry, it happens all the time.
In relation to this, the OEL, which is the incident log for the investigation, I believe refers to the urine sample being taken.
Right, and do we have that urine sample? Do we have that?
Sorry, say that again. You broke off, Mr. Craig.
She took a urine sample at Superdrug. She did a sample at Superdrug. But there's two questions. Has anybody seen that test?
I haven't seen if there is a urine sample, and I can't answer that question if we hold that presently, Mr. Craig.
So there's no police evidence. I'm not trying to cast aspersions on this individual at all. But I need to ask this question. There's no police evidence to support the fact she was drugged?
No, because we haven't been able to obtain and further the investigation. Because
that isn't answering the question. I just want to be clear on the police evidence specifically in relation to a urine sample to establish whether there were drugs in her system or not. There's no police evidence to support that.
No.
Just want to be clear on that. Thank you. That's great. Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you very much. Members of the subcommittee. Councillor Cuthbertson, Councillor Lucker, any question?
Sorry, none from me, Chair.
Councillor Lucker?
No, I think I'm okay on the police evidence. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Mr. Craig, it's your turn to make your pitch and call any witnesses. And as I said, 15 minutes, but I'm not going to be too precise.
Well, it's never been described as making a pitch before, Chair, but I don't see that as a bad thing. My first job was as a beer salesman, and to some extent, I still am a salesman. So I'll make the best possible pitch I can. And I think I have to start by conceding that there are definitely, or have been definitely been, issues at these premises, and I'm not going to invite you to take no steps that are available to you under section 52.4. I will, when I conclude this pitch, I will conclude by inviting you to certainly take some steps. But it's right to say, irrespective of the reasons behind why we find ourselves here today in the second half of November, but the fact is that the incident that gave rise to this review application was some there or thereabouts 10 months ago now, and it's absolutely right that you are allowed, and in fact this case law supports this, to take the position as it stands today into account, because of course that doesn't always work in a license holder's favour, as I know to my own through my own bitter experience. Sometimes a license is reviewed and then another terrible incident occurs in the interim, and it puts me in a more difficult position. I'm not going to claim that the premises have perhaps acted with the with the same amount of purpose as one would ideally want, but what you do have is since January is an improving picture of compliance at the premises, and it is right to say, in general terms, looking at the, if I just invite you, if I may, turn to page 194 in the main agenda pack. It's the witness statement of Samantha Bollard, dated, it's a relatively recent, certainly more recent than the previous statement by, just check her rank, a police officer Bollard, relates to a visit on the 17th of August, which is some 3 months ago. And during that visit, so on Wednesday the 17th of August, so it's towards the bottom of that page, it deals with the overall general high level of compliance. And then following that visit, Sergeant Booth visited the premises on the 8th of November. Again, that's well documented, and the Section 19 notice was cancelled. I mean, the clock was out by 3 minutes. I mean, that is a fairly regular occurrence, and actually, certainly, I know it's not uncommon for the clock to be slightly out. But if that's where we're at now in terms of the concerns that North Yorkshire Police have in respect of CCTV conditions, then I don't think anyone could describe that as anything else other than a hugely improved picture. So from that point of view, I would invite you to take all that into account. I visited the premises on Monday, and I have to say, based on that visit, I mean, I'm in a fortunate position. It's a licensing hearing and I can give evidence. But I would describe the level of compliance as very high. I was impressed with the quality of record keeping. And I suppose with that in mind, just invite you just to go through, because I think this is important. This ultimately is down to compliance with conditions as much as anything, this review. It seems to be founded upon that principally. So I invite you to turn to page 197 in the agenda pack. This relates to the visit on the 17th of August. I'm going to fire through these. I'm conscious of the time that I've got afforded to me. So please excuse me if I'm brief. 197, training records, 198, training records. You then have door supervisors are registered at page 200. You then have an individual training records. I went through all those on Monday. Many of those were done actually in early June, compliant with the condition. Obviously covers all the various areas over. You then at page 205 got an age verification poster. The incident book, I don't propose to go through every day, but it's right to say there's no question the incident book is being filled in regularly, and that relates to any refusals of sale, as well as anything that would occur at the premises. You've then got on page 208 a checklist for the individual rooms. They actually have a book. I'll go through that with my own photos shortly, but you can see from pages 208 through, in fact, to 214 thorough checklists that take place in case of each individual rooms. some more redacted documents here. Then invite you, if I may, to turn to page in the supplemental bundle. That's North Yorkshire Police's at page 11 within that bundle. Again, you have more at page 11. You have a further incident book filled in. You have the checks in the rooms at pages 13 and 15. You've got the door supervisor sign in at page 17. More recent training, although that's somebody who's been terminated, but you can see that there at pages 19, 20 and 21. You've got then the screenshot at pages 23 and 25. That relates to all the staff. And I have to say, I was hugely impressed with that record. It's very comprehensive. It covers every member of staff within their employ. Just invite you then quickly, conscious of the time, to turn to the supplemental or the supporting documents that were forwarded by me on behalf of Mr. Coy. You can see there the screen just with options in terms of searching. You can see then at page 2, that's a screen. That's a photo of the monitor itself. No, there's been some issues in relation to the hard drive. Significant expenditures gone into upgrading those hard drives. No question that is compliant now and has been for some time. You can see the hard drives there on page 3 and page 4. Number of notices up and around the premises, and I just wanted to demonstrate. If you look at, obviously you've got the one in relation to mandatory conditions, but if you look at pages 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 and 13 and 14, in fact, you can see there are a number of posters up there, far more than it would be required under the licence in relation to respecting the neighbours. No representations have been made by any neighbouring properties here, no representations by environmental health. And so you can take that into account when evaluating how this premises promotes the prevention of public nuisance licensing objectives. You've then got then proof of age posters in there, and then you can see there that what they're starting to do now at page 17 is have a book that deals with, it's more flexible for them, that deals with each individual room. That was actually at the suggestion of the police. There's a page 19, there's a condition on the license that deals with radios. I asked to see the radios. That's a photograph of them. And lastly, in terms of photos at page 20, you've got a screenshot there, which wasn't in the police evidence, which I think is helpful. I've redacted out the face and the name of the individual. I don't think anyone would have seen it, given the quality of that. But every single member of staff that have their either right to work card or passport, or relevant identifying documents in accordance with the Home Office regulations for each member of staff, which is hugely helpful. And I know that was inspected by Sergeant Booth on her visit of the 8th of November. You've then got the noise management plan, and which is a further condition on the licence, and a leaflet that went out to the neighbouring properties. So I think look, at the end of the day, Mr. Coy applied for this licence, and so he can't have any complaints about the conditions that are on there. But it is right to say it is not a straightforward licence in terms of the conditions. I'm not going to propose any further conditions because I don't think that's going to serve any purpose at all. I don't think anyone's going to argue that this licence isn't significantly conditioned. And I would say on behalf of the licence holder that I think it would have to concede on their behalf, the position was unsatisfactory, but they have taken positive steps to address those concerns. And the police went there on the 8th, and I think they probably didn't have any choice given the fact there was an extant Section 19 notice. But I don't doubt for a second if they felt they could maintain the notice or progress it onto a closure order, I don't doubt they would have done that, and they didn't do that. They withdrew it, and so you have evidence before you of the premises, albeit quite late in the day, relatively speaking, addressing the concerns that gave rise to this appeal. And with that in mind, I just invite you to consider 11.20 in the section 182 guidance. In terms of ancillary matters to that, I make the point about Mr. Long, who is known as Kevin, that there was no intention at the beginning, but for him to be involved. He doesn't have any standing in terms of the Licensing Act at the premises, but I have to say this because I represent a large number of licensed premises and licensed operators. Getting staff at the moment is an absolute nightmare. It is a nightmare for licensed businesses. And to that extent, it's all hands to the pumps. And Mr. Long knows the premises and knows how it operates. And so from that point of view, no one's tried to hide that fact that he's involved. I mean, he's been there for visits when the police have been involved. So I'm not going to sit here now and say he doesn't have any involvement at all, but he's not involved in the carrying on of licensable activities. That's Mr. Coy, and he has responsibility for that because, of course, he has been subject to a caution. It wasn't Mr. Long that was subject to a caution. I make the point about the caution. He has readily accepted there wouldn't have been a caution if he hadn't accepted guilt. He's accepted that he's was at fault. I think the interview under caution took place in June, and at that stage he's accepted not only guilt but also accepted the caution. The caution was given. If the breaches were significant and serious, then doubtless the CPS would have said, let's prosecute this. But they didn't do that, and a caution to me seems a sensible way of resolving this when Mr. Coy has accepted that he has fallen short. So I'm not sat here now saying there haven't been issues with the premises, because that I've already conceded on behalf of the premises that has been the case. In terms of the 16-year-old, I am duty bound to make the point. I've been in this situation before. That obviously I don't get the opportunity to cross-examine that person to establish what they're saying, whether it's correct or not. I'm not for a second saying that they are lying. I simply don't know what they're saying is correct or not. I just don't know that, and I can't know that. I do. Obviously, I've had a number of cases over the years that have involved situations where someone under the age of 18 has said they've been drinking somewhere. Sometimes they tell the truth, sometimes they don't. They have lots of reasons for the latter. They're scared of getting into trouble, don't want the parents to know exactly where they were drinking. I just simply don't know in this instance. I don't know what she looks like. I don't know what she looks like. I don't know the veracity of the test that was taken. She says she went to Superdrug. I just simply don't know the circumstances behind that. I do have to say as well, within her statement, the statement is contained at page 117. I do find it strange what she said. Didn't just turning to that, I just invite you to all turn to that, please. We all there? She says there, this was at the place she went to previously. She said, I also had 2 glasses of rosé wine. I ordered these separately as I was sat facing the bar. I wasn't really paying attention, but I didn't see anything suspicious at the bar. She then goes to say, I can't remember how many bar staff there were. We did share drinks around the table, and some of my friends tried my wine, both glasses. I thought my wine tasted normal, as I expected for rosé wine. This was the place they went for a meal before, and I just find that strange that she would say that she had friends who tried a sip of both glasses of rosé. I just that didn't seem to strike a chord with me. It seemed a bit odd. And she seems to be making the point that other people tried her drink in the other premises, and so therefore it couldn't be those premises. But I just find that doesn't quite strike a chord with me. But I felt duty bound to make that. I just make the point: you cannot attach overwhelming weight to this statement because it hasn't been subject to further investigation in terms of this individual. I do concede, I mean, look, there's no suggestion the premises have done anything deliberate with the footage. In fact, there's expressly states that in actual fact there's no evidence of that at all. So I think it's important to get that point across. But I have to concede on behalf of this licence holder that there have been some shortcomings. I will just quickly deal with the matter in relation to the fire safety, because there's been some suggestion that and my name's been brought into it, so I feel further compelled to. Can you hear me? Sorry, somebody's talking. No, am I still audible to everybody? Yes.
Yeah.
Good.
Mr. Craig, before you carry on, may I just ask you where the young woman's statement is, please? You said page 117, I thought.
123.
Well, it's 117 in mine.
Yeah, it's 123 in our papers, Ian.
Okay.
Sorry.
I've got it. I've got it.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. Sorry.
Do I need you to take to that bit again? Or are you happy to, when you deliberate to consider
No, I
that?
think I understand the point you're making, but I just like to read it verbatim, or unredactedly verbatim, if that's possible. Well,
it's about 1/3 of the way down.
Yes, I've got it.
I don't know why I've got 117, but anyway, this happens with some frequency when I get the page numbers that are different from the members, but there we are.
Have you finished, Mr. Craig?
No, not quite. Very close. Just want to deal with, I don't know what page it is on yours, but it's 189. It's the witness statement, the latest statement of Sergeant Booth. Actually, it's not the latest. It's the penultimate statement of Sergeant Booth. It might be that you need to add 6 pages onto that, so it might be 195 in yours.
I think it's 191. I think on ours.
Okay.
This is the dated the 1st of September.
Yeah, and it's not the first page of that. It's in fact the 5th page of that statement.
Yeah, it is 195.
There we are. My mental arithmetic is still hanging on in there. Just and it just makes reference. It's some inference that Mr. Coy tried to mislead the committee. I don't think that's fair. I mean, I've said his English it's not brilliant. It's okay. It was actually you were asked which premises he'd been involved in. Wasn't asked whether he was license holder at these premises. It's, have you been involved in? And I asked him if there'd been any issues at the premises. Well, we're dealing with a licensing application. I mean, you could ask that question of any licensed business. Have you got any issues? There might be some issues that are extraneous to the licensing process, staff issues, issues with planning, issues with.
Can we get to the point? And
I'll just make the point. I don't think he misled or intended to mislead anybody there. I don't think it's fair to suggest that. So I'll just make this point now. I'm getting the red light flashing above my head, Chair. I'll be 1 more minute. I'll just make this point. You've got the power to revoke this license. Of course you do. You've also got the power to suspend it. And I'm going to invite you to consider the latter of those 2 options. And perhaps if you've been making this decision in March or April, or even potentially June, then it might have been easier for you to take the path of revocation. And I think my job would have been harder making these submissions, but there has been improvement at the premises. Parliament has afforded licence holders the right to demonstrate between the review application and the hearing steps that they've taken. And so on that basis, I invite you to fall short of revocation. It will act as a deterrent to these premises about their previous non-compliance, but it also sends a message out to licensed premises that if you do make improvements, we will take that into account and fall short of the ultimate step of revocation. And so I would submit, given the visit on the 8th, given the clear improvements that have been at the premises, that is a more proportionate and appropriate step for you to take for a period as you deem fit in the circumstances.
Thank you very much, Mr. Craig. The red light is now flashing strongly.
Done. There we go. Thank you.
Kaylee, you and your team can ask questions. You've got 5 minutes, but again, I'm not going to flash the red light bang on time if, you know, we're trying to give everybody a fair crack.
Thank you, Chair.
It's over to you, Curly.
Many thanks. In relation to your comments, Mr. Craig, about the 16-year-old female sort of being in the premise and whether or not there was the test, if I can take you to page 127 in what I believe is our pack, so perhaps the members will be.
Is that the one dated the 22nd of the 6th and case?
This is
before we get on to that, I didn't say she wasn't checked. I don't know.
Craig, just hang on, half a tick. Carry on, Curly.
Thank you. It was just to direct you to page 127 of our pack in terms of whether or not the police had seen the results of the drug test. There's, this document is the OEL, so the occurrence inquiry log, which sort of maybe 1/3 down says the OIC sees the hard drive under section 19 as documented. We have the results from the drug test, but still pending the urine results. And if you go to the very bottom of that page, it describes, firstly, samples were taken from the victim and placed in the POTF freezer. A test was requested, but I was told that without a suspect, the samples would not be evidentially tested.
All right, thank you.
Yeah, just wanted to highlight that point for the members as well.
Thank you very much.
In relation to,
to be fair, the writing's quite small, but
it is. I believe that's just a difficulty of how it prints. It probably looks bigger on the screen.
Can you the question?
Thank you. So the question is whether or not that had been noted, but yes, thank you.
It has. Thank you.
I think in relation to obviously the victim who's made that complaint, you obviously take issue with the fact that obviously it hasn't progressed and invite the committee to draw an inference. But it's right to say that there's no suggestion that that was improperly made. There's no evidence in this pack to say that was anything other than a.
Can I make the point, Kaylee? You've got an opportunity to sum up. This really is for questions of the license holder.
Thank you. I've got one further question then.
I'm not trying to stop any, but if you stick to the questions, you've got an opportunity to sum up at the end. So please carry on.
Thank you, Chair. In relation to your comments that the premises are now up to scratch or similar, what assurances can the premises license holder give to the committee to say that things won't deviate or get worse the moment that the police attention isn't as regular as it is now?
Well, I suppose, I mean, he can answer on his own behalf to some extent, but I would speak for him by saying, if this license isn't revoked today and he continues along that path, I don't think anyone's going to be able to argue that it shouldn't be, and he'll lose his business and he'll probably be prosecuted for 136 offences. So the sword of Damocles will be hanging over his head, certainly from that point of view. But Mr. Coy, I think it's important that you try and assure the panel here that if they don't revoke your licence today, that you are going to continue to be compliant with the conditions on your licence, because I think I've conceded on your behalf, and I don't think you've admitted these breaches because you've got a caution. So can you please assure the panel as to how compliant you will be and how careful you will be going forward, please, Mr. Coy? Mr. Coy?
One second. Yes.
There we are. Can you hear me?
Definitely. Yes, I hear you.
Okay. Can you? The panel will want assurance from you that you're going to be a good boy going forward. Yes. Okay. And the police have asked for that as well, and I think they're perfectly entitled to ask that question. I think it's perfectly fair of them to ask that. So, look, you're paying me to be here and speak on your behalf, and that's absolutely right. But I think you need to say in your words why the panel should trust you going forward with this license. Why should they do that? Do you understand what I'm saying to you, Mr. Coy?
Yes, I understand. Yeah, I will do my very best way to do it, yeah, and follow the police give me the advice, notice, everything, action, everything. I follow the condition.
Do you understand what you're required to do now? Do you understand what you need to do?
Yes.
Do you understand better than perhaps you did before?
Yes, yeah.
Okay.
Definitely, yeah.
And do you understand if you're given a chance today, what the consequences will be if you don't?
Yes.
You do. Okay.
Yeah.
If I may ask a follow-up question, in terms of Mr. Coy's management of the premises, how many days does he propose to attend the premise? I think on a recent visit, he hadn't been there for some weeks, leaving Mr. Lung to administer or take care of all the licensable activities, the staff training, all of it.
Yeah. I'm going to give a politician's answer here. I'm actually glad you asked that because I forgot to say it in my submissions. He's there 4 days a week. He does have another business. He's been there a little bit less the last couple of weeks because he's got massive staff issues at his other premise. But generally speaking, and those were my clear instructions before the hearing, 4 days a week. And I think that's in accordance with the role of a DPS. I don't think that's that. Yeah, I know plenty of DPSs that aren't there even to that extent. And look, he's got overall control the day-to-day operation. It falls on him. He's the license holder. He's the DPS. He wouldn't have got the caution if that wasn't the case. So he fully understands it's on him. It's not on Mr. Long. Mr. Long has no standing in this hearing or these proceedings or under the Licensing Act. So there's no question. I'm here to speak on Mr. Coy's behalf. Of course I am, but he has to acknowledge and concede that the buck stops with him. It does.
I'm grateful for confirmation he would accept the penalty, but in terms of the proactive work, the putting in the correct training, the alcohol safety, the making sure the staff are properly trained, that those are his obligations. Yes, he will accept the penalty if it's not done correctly, but what input is he having to make sure that this is all done properly?
Mr. Coy, do you want to answer that, please? In terms of we went through all the records the other day, the staff records, the training records, all of that. Can you please answer the question, what is your involvement with that going forward?
I will keep up all I need to do.
I don't know if everybody heard that.
Mister.
Just repeat it again, Mr. Coy.
I will keep up all I need to do training records.
Yeah. I mean, he's taking responsibility for it going forward.
Yeah.
So he'll be doing the staff training that
was his answer, yes.
That's understood. Okay. As I say, in terms of his attendance at the premises, it had been the officers had raised concerns when they'd visit on the 8th. He hadn't been since the 28th, which is certainly more than 4. Well, if he's there 4 days a week, he'd not been there for some time. As I say, the concern remains of the police. I think he, of course, would promise to be there and says today he will be there. But when we look at the fact of what happened, he hasn't been there. He hasn't been managing. And I think regardless of any promises or statements made today, there's no assurance, I think, to the police that things will not.
Well, he's been there every time I've been.
Can we just get back a little bit? You're on questions, Kaylee. You've got an opportunity when you sum up to make any other points.
Thank you, Chair. I think those are the end of my questions.
Okay, thank you. I'm not trying to be heavy-handed because one of the things I want to ensure is that everybody feels that they've had to use another term, Mr. Craig, a good crack at their argument. So any questions to Mr. Craig from members of the panel? Councillor Looker.
Not from me.
Councillor Looker.
Yes, I was really just following up the question I think that the police were asking Mr. Craig. He has put great emphasis on the fact that by November, the premises were pretty well okay, as far as compliance with?
Well, I would say August, actually. I would say August, middle of August, it looks like, based on the second witness statement. I think it's at page, forgive me, it's at page 194. Well, it might not be at 194, but certainly the second witness statement of Samantha Bollard at the end of it deals with a visit on the 17th of August where she concedes that the premises was there or thereabouts compliant.
There or thereabouts compliant. But you would accept, I'm sure, Mr. Craig, that has still been quite a long time, considering the level of breaches that were in place back in, was it January, when the incident occurred?
I think I have to, yes. Yes,
yeah,
I do.
I mean, does this imply to you that it takes a long time to get there?
It implies to me that the situation as it is today is of a good standard. I accept, I'm conceded that it's taken a long time to get there, and that's why I'm inviting you to consider a suspension of the license. He can't expect to walk away from this without some sanction being imposed on the license. He can't. If there'd been these breaches identified in February and they've been turned around straight away, my submissions would have been different. So I have to concede that. I'm inviting you to suspend the license. That is a tacit and well, it's not just tacit, it's an admission that the premises hasn't sorted this out as quickly as they should. What I'm asking you to do is to consider, given those improvements, given the fact there have been no further incidents, to fall short of effectively extinguishing this business. That's what I'm asking you to do and asking you to consider. But I do concede that the level of compliance was not good enough and took too long to get there. Yes, I can't argue otherwise. I wouldn't seek to.
Thank you very much indeed.
Any other questions?
No, nothing further from me, Chair. Thank you.
I don't have any at this point. Mr. Craig, to use my words yet again, you have a final pitch to sum up your case. It says here you've got 5 minutes. Now, I'd like you, if you can, to be, I think the term is erudite, isn't it? To be as brief as you can. I think everybody to this point has had a fair crack. So, Mr. Craig, it is over to you. And technically, you have got 5 minutes when I set my machine to go running. So just bear with me.
That's fine. You needn't trouble yourself with that, Chair. I'm not going to be close to 5 minutes. One of the first things I was taught on one of the first sales courses I went on in the early 90s is not trying not to say too much. And certainly given the fact I've just spoken, I don't think that there's a huge amount I can add, other than in broad terms, you are here to make a proportionate and reasonable and appropriate decision here, and take a step under Section 52 for the promotion of the licensing objectives. And I would just say that given the improvements that North Yorkshire Police have conceded, it would be unjust in those circumstances to punish these premises by effectively taking their business away. Mr. Coy, his English isn't the best. I've got to concede that. But I went to the premises on Monday and met him there. I have to say, I thought the levels of compliance on Monday were of a very, very high standard. And he can be under no illusions, if you do give him this opportunity, first of all, I don't doubt North Yorkshire Police will be watching him like a hawk, and that's fair enough, by the way. And also, if he substantially fails to comply going forward, well, he's only got himself to blame. And I think the job of anybody sat here on his behalf at any future hearing is going to be extremely difficult on that basis. So I'm just asking you to give him another chance. He's sorry. He's addressed the issues. He's addressed the concerns. And I would just invite you not to take his business away and instead impose such suspension you think is appropriate for him. And on that basis, that will serve as a deterrent to him and other premises going forward. I reckon that was well under 5 minutes, Chair.
You are 2 minutes left.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Kaylee, you have the same.
Thank you, Chair.
5 minutes, and as again, I'm not going to press the red button dead on 5 minutes, but please try and be, I think the term again is erudite in your comments.
Thank you. Members, you've heard the premises repeated failings to comply with the terms of their licence. Promises and statements made in connection with the grant of this premises licence have proven to be empty and false. Given the history, the premises licence holder was more than aware of his obligations and has failed to meet them along the road. This is despite repeated visits from the North Yorkshire Police licensing officers, with significant resource being expended. All 4 licensing objectives here have been undermined. We believe we have demonstrated our approach has been a stepped one, with visits, guidance offered, and 2 Section 19 notices issued to guide them, and also with a criminal offence being pursued under Section 136. And as we've pointed out, 1 Section 19 notice actually expired before it was rectified. The second took 5 months to rectify, which was unacceptable. And there are still outstanding issues of concern the licensing officers have mentioned. There is absolutely no confidence at the moment for North Yorkshire Police and the premises licence holder or their management to comply with their obligations going forward. The premises licence holder has accepted a police caution for an offence under Section 136, and on a pre-arranged visit to the premises 2 days later, outstanding breaches had not been rectified and further breaches were detected, which is beyond belief. There's no confidence that they will operate lawfully if the police input and visits do not continue at the level they have been. And the evidence demonstrates we think that they are not, and seemingly are incapable of being a responsible operator. If the licence is not revoked, the evidence suggests that they cannot be trusted to comply with the licence conditions and promote the licensing objectives as they should. In considering this sanction, we draw the committee's attention to paragraph 11.10 of the Section 182 guidance in reference to identified concerns and good practice for warnings and the need for improvements. And it says there, a failure by the holder to respond to such warnings is expected to lead to a decision to apply for a review. And cooperation at a local level in promoting the licensing objectives should be encouraged, and review should not be used to undermine this cooperation. But I would ask the committee, how many more opportunities should the premises licence holder be afforded to undermine the licensing objectives? The committee should also consider the impact on other responsible operators in the area who will be looking to see what the effect of such significant and sustained breaches of a premises licence will be. And a decision to revoke would be a proper deterrent for other irresponsible operators who may be tempted to flout the law. In consideration of all the evidence submitted, we urge the committee on this occasion to revoke the premises licence. Thank you. That's the end of our submission.
Thank you very much. Have we got any further points of clarification required by my 2 colleagues, Councillor Looker, Councillor Cuthbertson?
Not from me, Chair, thank you.
Thank you very much. We shall close the meeting, public hearing shortly, and reconvene to make our deliberations. And the decision will be issued in writing to all parties as soon as possible, with detailed decisions and detailed items somewhat later. Can I thank you all for attending? I hope that both Mr. Craig and Kaylee believe that they've had, or are happy with, they've had every opportunity to make their case. And so with that, I thank you for coming. Have a good day. It stopped raining. Thank you very much, and we will close the meeting.
Thank you very much, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.